Hey guys, it's Cece, and today I'm here to do a very, very large book haul. I don't think I've talked about the books that I've hauled in about 6 months. I don't know how accurate my math is on that. I did one at the very beginning of the year, and I haven't done one since. So I have 23 books to talk about? 24? So yeah, a lot of books are missing from behind me, mostly on my TBR shelf, because it's where most of them have been. Let's just talk about it. I have 24 books to talk about that I've hauled. We're going to split these into how I acquired them. So we're going to talk about one book that was gifted, we're going to talk about books I've purchased, books that came in subscription boxes, and books that were sent to me by publishers. So let's get going. The one and only book I was gifted is The Witch Boy by Molly Ostertag. This is a graphic novel that was gifted to me by the incredible Sylvia over at the channel Wish Fulfillment for my birthday. So this is about a boy named Aster, and he is born into a family that has magic, but magic comes with very specific rules. Boys grow up to be shapeshifters, and girls grow up to be witches, and there are no exceptions. But Aster finds himself more and more leaning towards witchcraft, even though that is not allowed. I have been very, very, very excited to finally read this graphic novel. This is some of the art inside. I love Molly Ostertag's style. I love Molly Ostertag as a human. She does some incredible art. I loved the stuff that she did with Lumberjanes, and I can't wait to read her graphic novel. Next, smallest stack appears to be subscription box books. Let's talk about those next, I guess. So I have 2 books that I have kept that came in subscription boxes. There's a little bit of awkwardness with these books, so I got them from Page Habit, which is a book box that I have been an affiliate with for a number of months. I have since stopped being an affiliate for Page Habit after a number of really, really ridiculous situations. I have not been communicating with their affiliates. They have not been communicating with the people who have been getting their boxes. So I got these books before I left Page Habit as an affiliate. I'm going to talk about them. That's it. That's how I got these books. But I no longer represent Page Habit. So, yeah. That's what happened. So first we have Mem. This is by Bethany C. Morrow, and it came in the most recent Page Habit box that I got, which was basically just an overstock box full of stuff that I've received before. But this book did come inside, which was new to me. This sounds like a super weird book that I don't fully understand, but that I'm interested in. It's teeny tiny, but it is about a world. It's set in the Roaring 20s, and the elite are basically having negative memories extracted from them, but it seems like these memories also exist as their own separate beings. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of that one episode of Black Mirror, like the Christmas episode, where like a version of yourself exists in an egg, basically. That's what it reminds me of. I could be way off. But I thought it sounded interesting. Plus, look at this cover. So it's basically kind of see-through with this vault underneath, because there's a thing that memories or mems are kept in vaults. So I'm really interested in this one. A few months ago, Page Habit also sent out Dread Nation in their YA box. This is by Justina, Ireland. It is one of my most anticipated releases of the entire year. It's set near the end of the Civil War, I believe, and it's about a girl named Jane, and basically the dead start rising, and that really derails the war. Basically, the white elite decide that they would rather not fight zombies, and so pretty consistently with US history, they decide that black folks, indigenous folks, and I'm assuming anyone else who ain't white are going to be the ones who are on the front lines. It's obviously been getting hype for months. I have been dying to read it, and like an alternate historical zombie novel that deals with race. Yes. Also, the main character of this is bi, as far as I'm aware, and there is an asexual side character, so it's also queer. Yes. Next, I'm going to move on to books that I have purchased with my very own money. There have been a lot lately. I've been filling a void within myself by buying things, and one of the things I've been buying a lot of is books. First, some throwbacks. I got a couple of Stephen King books recently, just because I wanted my own copies of them. I've already read these books, but I like having books around that I like and that I've read. So the first one that I got is The Green Mile by Stephen King. I read these all originally in their separate novella form, so there were 6 novelettes. I read all 6, absolutely loved them, also loved the movie, and when I saw this at the store and it was this like really nice bound copy with a cover I didn't hate, because there are so many covers of The Green Mile I absolutely hate. I decided that it was finally time to add it to my collection, because I read this originally when I was in high school. It's been a long time that I haven't had my own copy. The Green Mile is about a group of guards and a prisoner who is on death row. He's been imprisoned for an absolutely horrific crime, and one of the main prison guards, Paul, is slowly coming to learn more about this prisoner, what actually happened, and some of the more supernatural things about him. It's a really, really excellent book, as well as a really excellent movie. I also got Pet Sematary in this absolutely fantastic pulp cover that I adore so very much. Pet Sematary is about a young family who have just moved into a new home, and the patriarch of that family who discovers that a nearby cemetery has really terrifying but possibly beneficial abilities, I guess? Super, super spooky. One of the scarier Stephen King books I've ever read. Like, this book made me jump in broad daylight on a train full of people. Super scary. Absolutely love it. Next, I have a weird one that I'm not going to talk about for that long, and that is Vampires in the Temple by Mette Harrison. This is a book by a local Utah author that I couldn't help but purchase. It is about an alternate history in which vampires have always been involved in the LDS or Mormon church, and about a detective who has a secret. I'm from Utah, I grew up Mormon, and so I just couldn't pass this up. I've started reading it, it's pretty awful, but I had to know. Honestly, I just had to know, that's why I have this. Next up I have the 12 Tribes of Hattie by Ayana Mathis. I bought this book while I was on vacation in Australia. So there was a secondhand bookshop called Elizabeth's Bookshop, and I went in and I looked around for a while, and I wound up getting this. I bought it because the description made it sound somewhat similar to Homegoing by Yajasi, which I read earlier this year and loved. But it begins in 1923, and it's about a woman named Hattie who has 12 children, and each of the chapters is a narrative about one of those children that Hattie has to raise alongside a man who is horrible and who she hates, and that she has to fight through oppression and other horrific circumstances. And it's probably going to be heartbreaking, but so was Homegoing, so kind of why I bought it. Next up we have Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I bought this because I read and loved The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo this year and really wanted to read one of her other books. I bought this without totally thinking about it, so it might take me a little bit before I read it, just because of the subject matter. It's about a woman named Hannah Martin who is 29. She has just recently been dumped, and she is unsure of where she wants to go in life, and then one evening at a bar she runs into her high school boyfriend Ethan. Ethan offers Hannah the choice to either leave with her friend, or maybe if she wants to, if she stays at the bar, Ethan can drive her home later. This follows two parallel storylines, and each one is basically if Hannah had made one decision or the other, which really reminds me of Jane Unlimited by Kristen Cashore, one of my favorite books of last year. So I'm interested, but it might take me a little bit to read it. I'm not sure. It's a really beautiful book, though. I love this color, and I love how orange the spine is, and I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. Have you guys heard about her book that's coming out in 2019? Because it sounds absolutely incredible. Also got Piecing Me Together by Renée Watson, one of my favorite books that I read earlier this year. I read it from the library, desperately wanted my own copy. This is about a girl named Jade. She lives in a very poor neighborhood, but attends a prestigious school on scholarship, like a couple bus rides away. She's promised a scholarship for joining a mentorship program called Woman to Woman, which basically pairs her with an older woman who is supposed to guide her, who is supposed to help her make decisions. But Jade really feels, most of all, like she's tired of being singled out as someone who always needs help. And most of all, she's tired of people telling her that because she is poor, because she's black, and because she's fat, that everything about her needs to be changed if she wants to make it. This is an absolutely gorgeous book that I sobbed through. Like, I sobbed through so much of this. It's wonderfully written. It is an ode to black womanhood and all of the different aspects of that. It is about privilege within certain communities and about fighting for who you are. I love it, and I can't wait to read Renée Watson's other books, so I desperately wanted my own copy of this. Next, I want to talk about some of the 2018 releases I've purchased. I've got to get through this faster. First, we have Let's Talk About Love by Claire Kann, which came out back in January, I believe. This is about a girl named Alice who is biromantic and asexual, and she has just finished her freshman year of college, which concluded with her girlfriend dumping her for being ace. She decides that she's kind of done with love and relationships. She's just going to spend the summer hanging out with her friends, binging stuff on Netflix, being really chill, and then a new guy starts working at the library where Alice works, named Takumi, and Alice instantly finds herself falling for him. So she has to make the decision of whether or not she's going to put her heart on the line again or stick to her decision of no relationships. I loved this book enthusiastically when I read it a few months ago, which is again why I went out and bought my own copy. I read it from the library. The sexuality rep is heartbreaking but honest and beautiful. The characters are lovely. It's a delightful book, but just be forewarned that a lot of the ace stuff in here can get kind of triggering, especially that early chapter I mentioned. It starts with Alice being dumped, and that can be kind of a brutal chapter to read if you can't handle reading about people being pretty extremely ace-phobic. So know that going in. It's a hard chapter, but overall, an excellent, excellent book. I also have Tyler Johnson Was Here by J. Coles, which I still haven't read yet, but I'm working on it. Tyler Johnson Was Here is about a boy named Marvin after he finds out that his twin brother, Tyler, was shot and killed by the police. There's a line in the description here where it says that Marvin is mourning a brother who is now a hashtag that honestly breaks my heart every single time I read it. This has gotten an incredible amount of praise, and I'm in love with this cover and everything about it, which was originally what drew me to the book, but also everything about the subject matter I think is going to be difficult, but like incredibly important, and I can't wait to read it, and I can't wait to read J. Cole's next book that was just announced. We have a couple of years before we get to it, but he's writing some necessary, beautiful books. We also have All Out, edited by Saundra Mitchell. This is the No Longer Secret Stories of Queer Teens Through the Ages. It is a collection of short stories about queer teens through history, and it is really wonderful. Apparently, I forgot to stop writing down my ratings in my post-it note at the front, but I will leave my review linked below in the description if you want to check it out. I mean, honestly, this is a book that is a collection of queer authors writing queer stories for queer people, and that is the most wonderful thing that I can really imagine, and so many of the stories are fantastic. My personal favorites were The Inferno and the Butterfly by Sean David Hutchinson, The Secret Life of a Teenage Boy by Alex Sanchez, Molly's Lips by Dahlia Adler, and Burnt Umber by Mackenzie Lee. Those are my favorites. They were all wonderful, and I love this book. The two most recent 2018 releases that I've purchased include Out of the Blue by Sophie Cameron. This is about sapphic girls. It's also about an angel who falls from the sky. I know that the main character is definitely a lesbian. I think the love interest is a lesbian as well. Also, Sophie Cameron personally told me on Twitter that the characters use lesbian and gay to identify themselves. I'm probably gonna cry when I read this, truly and honestly. Plus, it's about a fallen angel, and that is my jam. So, you know that I will be reading this very soon. I just purchased this a couple of weeks ago, and look at this angel falling on the cover. And the last book that I purchased for myself recently is Mariam Sharma Hits the Road by Sheba Karim. This is about 3 Muslim American teens, still teens. They are just finished their freshman year of college, so like 19. When they go on a road trip. So Mariam is our main character. She just kind of wants to have a very chill summer after college, and then she wants to spend time with her 2 best friends, Gaz and Umar, and then Gaz calls both of her other friends in a panic because her parents are furious and she has got to get out of town. So the 3 of them decide to drive to New Orleans together. Umar is also queer, but he is closeted. I don't know exactly which identity he uses, but he's closeted, and it's just about the 3 of them talking about family, faith, growing up, and it sounds delightful. So, I'm excited about this one, which is why I bought it. Okay, last stack. Are you still with me? Because I have some books from publishers to talk about. We have From Twinkle with Love by Sandhya Menon, which is about a girl named Twinkle who loves film and wants to be a filmmaker. So this boy, Sahil, reaches out to Twinkle and asks her to help him make a movie for an upcoming movie festival, and Twinkle's all over it. She's super excited. She wants to make movies, but she also wants the chance to get closer to Sahil's twin brother, Neil, who she is super crushing on. And then over the course of making this movie, she maybe starts to fall for the other brother instead. I haven't read this or When Dimple Met Rishi yet, but I have both of them now, so motivate me. Tell me how great they are. Please let me know in the comments. I have Reign of the Fallen. This is by Sarah Glenn Marsh. Came out back in January, and it is about a bisexual necromancer. Yes! This is about a necromancer named Odessa, and it's her job to basically raise nobility from the dead. Once they are raised, though, they have to remain shrouded, and if any part of them touches the light, they will become shades. Shades are basically like these bloodthirsty creatures. Kind of reminds me of zombies. Don't know if that's accurate. And then all of a sudden, a lot more shades start turning up in the kingdom, and more the blame is getting turned back on necromancers, so Odessa has to try to figure out why that is, what the situation is, all of that. Plus, there's a female-female romance. So, this is the first in a series. There are going to be more. I hope that they are all delightfully pastel with skulls on the cover, and that they're all queer as hell. I think that they will be, so that's exciting. I have not one, but 2 copies of Furyborn by Claire Legrand. So I was originally sent an ARC by Sourcebooks, and then the book actually came out, and they sent me a finished copy. Oops. Furyborn is about 2 prophesied queens who live centuries apart. You don't know which is the one who is supposed to bring destruction and which is the one who's supposed to bring, like, light and joy. It's just about 2 people who have a prophesied power who could be one of those 2 people. Obviously, it's the first book in a trilogy, the Imperium trilogy, and it's about ladies and fantasy and all that goodness. And I really should read it since I have 2 copies. I have Anger is a Gift by Mark Oshiro, which I originally read as an e-arc that was given to me by Tor, and then they sent along a finished copy after I read it, and after I did that cool video with Mark Oshiro, the author, where he answered fun questions. You should go watch that. This is about a boy named Moss whose father was killed by the police, and years later he's still facing the repercussions of that. He still has frequent panic attacks, and while he's still dealing with the grief and with this trauma that is left over, he and his friends are also dealing with the fact that they are increasingly being made to feel like prisoners in their own Oakland school. This is one of the queerest books I've ever read in my entire life. Pretty much everyone is a person of color. There's also a disabled side character. There is a hijabi side character. Moss himself is gay. This is a really difficult book. Like, I should say that. One of the quotes on the back says, an essential book to read alongside The Hate You Give and Dear Martin, so it's very much within that tone, but it's also a delightful book about this queer found family coming together and fighting oppression. I have to recommend it 100 times over. It's an incredibly necessary book, and I'm really excited that Tor decided to send me a copy so that I can put all my post-it notes from my ebook read in my physical book now. I also have What I Leave Behind by Alison, McGee. I was actually sent 2 copies of this book, so I might possibly be giving one away, which is the point. That is like what the package said to do, was to give one away. I'm mostly interested in this book for the style of it. It is told in 100 chapters, and each of those chapters is exactly 100 words long. But also this is, for as short a book as it is, going to deal with some very tough subjects as well. The main character, Will, has recently lost his father to suicide, and also one of his friends has revealed that she was recently sexually assaulted. So Will decides that he wants to do random acts of kindness in an effort to try to sort of improve the world in the little ways that he can. I'm very interested in this book. I'm very interested in the way it was written and how these little 100-word chapters are going to work, which is why I decided to keep it around and read it. The very recent book that I was sent is The Air You Breathe by Frances de Pont-Pebles. This is a historical book. It's also almost definitely queer. I'm like 97% sure that it's queer. From what I understand from the description, this is about Latinx women who become intense friends over years, but are also rivals. They both have a passion for music that fuels them along their path throughout life. Don't know how this is queer, but like I said, 97% sure. It starts in the 1930s in Brazil, and it just gives me all the vibes of some of my favorite books. It reminds me of elements of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It reminds me of some elements of The Color Purple. And as soon as Penguin reached out and asked me if I wanted to read this book, I was like, yes, get it in the mail tomorrow. this is definitely a book that is up my alley. Okay, 4 books left and they're all arcs. First up, Drumroll Please. This is by Lisa Jen Bigelow. Actually, the author sent me this, not the publisher, but it still goes in this pile. This is about a young girl named Melly who only joined the school band because her best friend wanted to, and over the course of that discovers that she loves to drum. And then she winds up being able to go to a kind of band camp, and Melly finds herself falling apart in a lot of ways. Her parents have just recently gotten divorced, and her best friend is ignoring her, but she also finds herself falling for another girl at camp named Adelaide, and so she keeps just relying on music to get her through this. So this is queer middle grade with a bisexual main character. This came out already back in June. It's been released, so you can go and get a copy yourself, but you know I'm here for queer middle grade. We also have Undead Girl Gang by Lily Anderson. This was released in May, also already out in the world. This is about teenage Wiccan Mila Flores. When Mila's best friend dies under mysterious circumstances along with a group of the school's mean girls, then Mila decides that it couldn't have been that they were involved in a suicide pact, and so decides to bring them all back to life temporarily to learn how they actually died. The main character of this book is Latinx and fat, and I believe there's some side queer rep. It has also been getting absolutely incredible reviews, which I was not fully expecting. I was expecting people to like it, but this is coming out to like 5-star reviews, which is making me even more excited than I already was to read this book about female friendship and witchcraft, and I don't know. I'm so excited about this book after all of the incredible reviews that I've seen. We also have Darius the Great is Not Okay by Adib Karam. This book is coming out this month. It's coming out in August, so soon. So Darius is biracial. His mother is Persian, but he's really never connected to that part of himself. And then he gets the opportunity to go to Iran for the first time, and he's feeling really nervous about trying to reconnect to that part of himself that he just doesn't know. He's also clinically depressed and doesn't know how to explain to his grandparents that he has medication to take. He is feeling alienated, and then he winds up befriending the boy next door. So, Darius, the main character of this book, is biracial, queer, and fat. That is rep that I feel like some people have talked about, but not everybody. Also, like I said, he is on medication for depression, and like, I have the feeling that this book is going to break my heart. Again, when Penguin Teen emailed me, I was like, please, 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 please send me Darius the Great is Not Okay, because I am so excited about this book. Some of my favorite reviewers have been absolutely hyping this book to me. It's gonna break my heart, but I think I'm going to enjoy having my heart broken by it. And finally, the last book I'm going to talk about is In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire. This book arrived like yesterday at my new apartment. It was waiting. I'm very happy about it. This is the 4th book in the Wayward Children's series, which is one of my favorite series of all time. BookTube has obviously been hyping it for years. The first book, Every Heart a Doorway. So these books are basically portal fantasies that deal with the trauma of a portal fantasy. I don't know fully what this one's about, except that it's about a girl named Lundy and has a connection to the Goblin Market. I love me some Goblin Market stuff, and I absolutely love these books. I love Seanan McGuire's writing, so like, I've rated all of these books 4.5 to 5 stars, and I cannot wait to finally read this. It is coming out in January, so you still have a few months to wait before everyone else can get their own copies, but I'm going to be reading it sooner, hopefully, rather than later, so you guys know how I feel about these books. Okay, longest book haul ever. Later, we are finally done talking about these books. Whew. Okay, I hope everyone enjoyed this, because I'm sure that it was a doozy. What are some of the new books that maybe have come into your life recently? Let me know down in the comments below. And which of these books that I haven't read should I be the most excited to jump into? I'm curious. What are your thoughts? Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!